Val is filming me and he doesn't realise that when I set my cheeks in, he's involuntarily doing the same thing. He's filming me going... Hi guys, welcome back to another vintage tips and tricks video. Today I'm finally going to do a makeup tutorial or a get ready with me. This is just a standard everyday makeup that I do when I go out and about. If you want me to get more specific, if you want me to do like a 40s video or a 50s video or a 60s video, let me know, but this is just my general makeup routine because I've had a lot of questions about this. So without further ado, here I go. So I'm going to start with a primer. I use Marc Jacobs, which is a vegan brand, so I highly recommend this. It's been a really good primer for me. I just use a tiny bit and I put it everywhere except on my lid because I do find it's a little bit of a creamy primer, so on my lid it does make me crease a little bit because I do have slightly oily skin. So when I draw it down on my neck a little bit, because I do bring my makeup a little bit down onto my neck. I know some people do that, some people don't, but I do. Then I'm going to get stuck in with some foundation. I use the Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation, and this one is in medium sand. Everything I'm going to use today is vegan and cruelty free. If you have any questions, let me know. I will put all of the products in the description box below. So I use a beauty blender. Basically, I just dab it into place. With a beauty blender, you don't want to spread, you want to dab to get even coverage. Otherwise, you'll find you wipe the makeup off and then it soaks into the sponge and you won't get good coverage. Then I go in with my Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer. This is quite a creamy concealer and does leave a bit of a shine on your skin. I have slightly oily skin anyway, so it doesn't really matter for me, but if you have dry skin, you might find there's a bit of a difference in the kind of texture and finish. So you might want to set it with a powder. I currently don't have a powder, so I'm not going to set it, but I would highly recommend setting with a makeup spray or a powder anyway. It will help you get more of a matte finish, which is more of a vintage look, but I just don't have any at the moment. Now I do put concealer on my lid. I don't have an eyeshadow primer at the moment, so I'm just putting some concealer there. And I draw my concealer down and into that triangle shape down on my cheek. And then I just finish off by covering up any blemishes or kind of sun marks or anything that I have. So once I have done that, I go in with a little bit of bronzer. I mean, traditionally with vintage makeup, they did used to use different shades of foundation. So by doing this, you're not really doing anything inauthentic. They did used to do contouring of their nose, or you wanted to change the shape of your cheekbones and stuff. They did actually do that in the 1940s and 50s if you read the beauty books from back then. So it's not a new or modern idea. So I go in with like a kind of a skinny brush like this. I do have a bronzing brush, like one of those skinny fan ones, but I find that makes my bronzing really sharp. I just want to add a little bit of depth. So I just tap the brush, tap it off on my hand, and then go in, suck my cheeks in, and go where my natural crease is underneath my cheekbone. And I draw it down into this section here in my face because I don't want to come too close to the line of my mouth because you kind of end up looking like a ventriloquist doll, which you don't want. And I put a little bit of bronzer up on my brow line. As per like your general makeup videos on YouTube, I'm not really doing anything too crazily different here. A little bit on your jawline so that if you need it to get a bit of angle there. And I just use my my eyeshadow brush, but I just take this skinny one here and I just go in a line from my eyebrow down my nose and then down the side here, just to give a little bit of shape and definition. And then just to back off a little bit on the sharpness of this, I just go over with a foundation brush or dry foundation brush and just blur out the line a little bit so it looks a bit more natural and not like I've painted on or contoured too much, because it's not really the look that we're going for. Okay, then I head in for my eyebrows. In general, for a vintage look, I think eyebrows really give you the kind of definition to your face and map out how you're going to do the rest of the shape of your eyeliner and where your eyeshadow is going to sit, etc. So I always go in and do that next. And I brush everything kind of down and out like this. I got this tip from a vintage makeup book so that you can follow the top of your eyebrow easily. And then you brush it back up afterwards. Then I go in with an angled brush like so. And I use powder because I don't want too sharp a look. Vintage eyebrows, despite being heavy, weren't actually hugely defined in terms of having a perfect line. I know that's really popular with contemporary eyebrows, but that's not what the vintage look is all about. It's actually about looking quite soft and feminine. So you want to go easy on the pencil. So I start here and I go with my eyebrow shape. And I try and put the powder on the strands of hair rather than brushing it onto my skin and drawing a new shape, if that makes sense. I've got kind of wispy eyebrows, so they tend to be a little bit like thin on in the middle, so I go in with a darker shade. There's two shades in here, so I started with this shade over here. I'm going to go in with the darker shade to kind of fill in the center of my brow, but I don't use that on the outside because I find that's a little bit too harsh. But sometimes it depends on what look I'm going for. Like if I was doing a 60s look, I'd probably go for a little bit harsher eyebrows, but I'm not doing that today. I'm going for kind of a combination 40s and 50s look. I'm not going to put it in a particular era because I wouldn't be correct if I said that. And I like to draw my eyebrow out a little bit on the side, which is quite an authentic thing to do. It's kind of like, the 40s was a bit thinner and longer, the 50s had a thicker kind of more natural hairy looking brow, and I kind of go somewhere in the middle. At the moment, I used to go for more of a 40s brow, but at the moment I have thicker brows. And then in the center there, I just go with a brush with no product in and just kind of flick my natural eyebrow upwards, just in this little section here, with no extra product. So whatever's left on there kind of gives me a little bit of shade, as you can maybe see, but it leaves that kind of looking natural and a little bit sparser. Okay, so once the eyebrows are done, you see you can kind of get like, they look very bold in comparison to everything else, but obviously we're going to add more colour. Go in and put some blush on. Obviously blush was pretty big in the 1940s and 50s, or like a nice flushed, fresh look. So I put some blush on my brush and then tap it off on my wrist. And you suck your cheeks in, but instead of going in and underneath, I go onto the apple and the bottom side of the kind of what we call the apple of your cheek, but like along my cheekbone. And for me personally, because I have kind of a long face, I don't bring it in too close in here. It depends on the shape of your face, and I have recommended some beauty books from the 1940s and 50s previously that you can download off the internet. I will link them again in this video, and that explains where to put your colour on various parts of your face depending on the shape of your face. I found that really helpful. And once again, I always go in with my foundation brush and just soften the edges a little bit so it looks more natural. If you're interested in what brushes I use too, I have a whole kit of brushes from Aarbonne. They're actually a gift from my best friend, which is an Aarbonne representative, but they do vegan brushes if you want to order them from there. No, I'm not sponsored and I'm not an Aarbonne representative, I just have Aarbonne brushes. So then I get stuck into my eyeshadow. So what I start off with is the smaller of my two brushes. So I've got my blending brush, this is my eyeshadow brush. Start off with the eyeshadow brush. I actually go in for my blending colour, or my main base colour, just with my bronzer that I used on my cheeks. So I just get a bit of product on there, tap it off, and I go in through the crease line. Just go up toward your brow bone, but don't fill in this section underneath because you want that to be a little bit highlighted to give your brow a little bit of lift, especially if you've got lower set brows or lower set eyelids. So the way I do my eyeshadow is not kind of how contemporary eyeshadow is done, and that is because that gives you a very specific look that isn't a kind of natural look that you were aiming for in the 40s and 50s, so I don't tend to do that. My eye is more of a 40s eye, to be honest. I just put colour into the crease line and bring it a little bit toward my eyebrow in here, and then I just bring it up toward my brow bone, and that's pretty much it. And bring it down into my crease and out towards the edge of my eyebrow. But that's pretty much all I'm going to do. Then I get a darker colour. It's another Aarbonne colour. By the way, my bronzer was the Urban Decay Beached Bronzer in bronzed. But yes, this is kind of a slightly sparkly one from Aarbonne, although I would prefer one that isn't sparkly, but that's what I've got at the moment, so that's what I'm going to put on. I don't have a lot of eyeshadows. I tend to just keep to like pretty neutral colours. I put it into the corner of my eye here, try not to go too far down, head out toward my eyebrow a tiny bit, and then bring it into that crease section there and a little bit across my lid. And that's it. I don't want to put too much darkness in there because it's not a smoky eye, it's a 40s eye. So it's just to give my eyelid a little bit of depth. That is literally all I do. And just pack the powder on there so I've got something to work with my blending brush, but as I say, I don't do too much. And then I come in with my blending brush, the fatter, fluffier one, and I literally drag my dark colour over and pull it out toward my brow bone and blend it into the bronzer that I've put in there. And I soften it at the edges of my eye a bit because I don't want that kind of sharp, angular look that I know is very popular with contemporary makeup, but is not remotely what I'm going for. You want to soften it out so it kind of gradiates nice and evenly rather than having a punch of dark colour in the corner of your eye. If you want to copy me, I mean, this is just my own personal preference. I'm not a makeup artist, so it depends on whether you like the look or not. But personally, I think with makeup, there isn't right or wrong. I mean, if you're happy with how your makeup looks, it doesn't really matter, does it? And then I just brush that off a little bit so it hasn't got any colour stuck on it. And I go in with a much lighter colour. So this is another Aarbonne colour. This one is Linen, and it is a matte colour, so I'll recommend it. The other one was called Chocolat. There you go, Chocolat. Now I come in and I go just along my brow bone here, just to give me a bit of lift and to blend the colour from my crease into my brow bone a little bit so it's not too dark up near my eyebrows. And I like quite a high arch, which was particularly popular in the 30s and 40s. The 50s didn't have quite a strong arch, but well, I had more of an angular arch, but I've got a naturally kind of rounding arch, so I tend to go with that. And if you need it, or if you've brought some colour too far down for your eyebrows, just pop a little bit under here, stops you looking angry. It's a tip from my mum when I was younger. And then I pop a little bit on the end of my brush and I pack it just onto that kind of first inner half of my eyelid, or I guess like the centre of your eyelid. And then I go right into the corner of my eye and I dab a little bit of pale colour into there. A little bit of illumination. And that is literally it for my eyeshadow. I leave it at that and I let my lashes and my liner do the talking. Alright, so onto the liner. This is always the most difficult part, and there's lots of different tricks and tips for how to do your liner. My biggest tip would have to be get the right type of product. So I use Kat Von D's Tattoo Liner, and the reason I love this, and I've always used products that have this same thing, is it has a tip on it. So it's very, very easy to create your wing. Now, sometimes I go right into the corner of my eye, but if I'm doing just a general kind of light day makeup, I start around about here and then I slowly gradiate out and wing into my tip from there. I actually keep my eyes slightly open when I do this, and I line my lashes first. This is just what works for me. I know lots of people do that thing where they draw a line and they come in from the side and do the outer section first, but I always find I'm uneven when I do that. I don't know why. I'm not really going to question it, I'm not too concerned. I just come and follow my lash line, doesn't matter if it's neat at this point. I need to come in nice and close to my mirror, that's alright, I should be able to see better anyway. And then I neaten up the line. And to get my flick, I actually just close my eye, pull out sideways, and do it. And then I fill it in not too close to the very edge of my eye here. I actually sit up a little bit, because I find if I do that I look a little bit strange. I don't know why, maybe it's the shape of my eyes. I've got kind of Asian-y almond eyes, my Indian heritage coming up. You see, I didn't come in too far. My eyeliner starts here rather than starting right in the corner of my eye. And I will do the same on the other side. Well, even I always end up with a slightly bigger flick on this side, so I just thicken this one out a little bit. Yeah. And that's how I do my liner. Like, I don't get too crazy and complicated about it. I think it's just a matter of practice, honestly, but I find if I pull my eyelids out like this at the same angle and I kind of judge it based on where the end of my eyebrow is, you can see I've kind of got the flick curving up towards the end of my eyebrow on each side. I find that gives me a pretty even flick. So there you go. Then I come in with a nice swab of mascara. It's kind of tricky to see because of the lighting. It's pretty better. It is Urban Decay Perversion Bigger Blacker Badder mascara. And now depending on what look you want to go for, the 40s they only put mascara on the upper lashes, they didn't do it on the bottom lashes. For me it just depends on how I'm feeling on the day. So I read again in a vintage book is to like draw your eye out sideways and then put the product not too close to your actual waterline, just to kind of apply it like the last 2/3 of your lash, and by pulling it out like this you'll get heaps on your finger and you'll end up with your lashes flicking out slightly sideways like a set of falsies does. And I spent years trying to teach myself not to open my mouth when I do my mascara. I have no idea why that was such a huge goal for me as a teenager, but I really didn't want to like open my mouth when I put my mascara on like everybody else does. Weird. It's a strange child. Imagine what I could have achieved instead of teaching myself to do that. And I think today I won't do my bottom lashes. I will just do my top lashes and do a bit of an authentic 40s thing. I did read in a 40s book that if you put your mascara on too thick, it will give you a worldly look, a woman of the world that you may or may not want. I think what they're implying is that you will look like a tramp, but they're just much too polite to say that. The kind of Marilyn-y trampy characters from 50s films were always my favourite, so I don't mind if I look like a bit of a 50s tramp. Last but not least, and probably the most important, is Red Lippy. Now, my current absolute favourite is Kat Von D. I love her liquid lipsticks, and I have a whole bunch of different colours. This particular one is probably one of the most popular, is Outlaw. It's one of the mini tester tubes because it was so popular I couldn't actually buy the full tube version, but it lasts very, very well and you don't need much product. A little bit goes a long way and you get a great matte finish. Matte finish isn't actually authentic. Back then they had plenty of cream lipsticks, matte lipsticks, sparkly ones, a huge mix, so you don't have to go matte to be authentic, but I find they just last longer. They last so well, you can't really get it off in the evenings. Now, The big trick to long-lasting lippy and a good crisp line, and crisp line is so important for a vintage look. If you've watched any of Dita Von Teese's tip videos on lipstick, she always says that you need to have a very crisp line, and I thoroughly agree with her. I get that by using a pencil and get one that you can sharpen. Sharpen it and start with your Cupid's bow. This is my big tip. I found over the years this has helped me the most. And I stretch my upper lip out like so, and I do my Cupid's bow first. And follow your natural Cupid's bow. Don't create anything new on this part of your lip. If you're going to fill your lips out, do it on the sides. Don't do it on the Cupid's bow, or you will end up looking like a drag queen. Okay, so I do that much, and then I go in and follow my natural line first. You can fill out from there, but you can't go backwards, so if you overdo it, it's not a good look. So do your natural line first, and then fill out if you need to. Now, if you're like me and you've got this little like white ridge around your lips, not everyone has that, but I try to stay just inside that, and then I fill out onto that, because if you go over the edge of it, because it is raised, I find it's really obvious that you've drawn outside your lip line, so I don't do that. I do on my bottom lip, I just flip my lip like this, and I draw onto that whitish line. And as I say, I go to the edge of it, I don't go over it. And then I've gone to the peak of that white line on my Cupid's bow. I'm gonna fill out to the white line and give myself a bit of a broader arch here, which is a very 40s and 50s thing to do, is to go over the edge of your lip, particularly through this section here. And then, to make your lipstick stay, colour the whole inside of your lip in. You'll find it survives food and drink so much better. Even if you're wearing the long stay liquid lipsticks, I still find it comes off in the middle of my lips. And this helps a lot. Okay, and then you finish off with a slick of your favourite lipstick. These ones come with like a little spongy brush, so they're really awesome. And I always start in the centre and work my way out. That way if you have too much product on the brush, you don't accidentally get a big blotch at the end of your liner. And that is it, that's the final product. I do need to go and like adjust my hair a little bit, but we're doing a makeup tutorial today, so it doesn't matter. But that is what it looks like. Hope you like it. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments box below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. Feel free to put suggestions in the comments box about what you would like to see videos on. I will happily make them for you. Have a great day, guys. See you next time. Bye.